And now back to Insights on Leadership in Life with your host, Roberta Pickett.
Welcome back to Insights on Leadership in Life. I'm your host, Roberta Pickett, and I'm here with Susie Miller and Sandi Sims, and we are talking about happiness, favorite topic of both of ours, all of ours, I should say, all three of ours.
What am I, chopped liver?
Yeah,
here?
chopped liver, yeah, that's all. And so we just covered,
Cannoli.
I know, those 12-minute segments just
I know
go
they
by
go by
so fast and don't get enough time to talk. So we talked about making peace with the past. But I want to change the focus to talk about the future. And I'm referring back to the book on happiness by Doug Smith. But he was saying that you need to have confidence in the future. In order to be happy, that you have to have some level of confidence in the future. And this is going to be a good one because you're the eternal pessimist, you see. So he calls having confidence in the future, he calls it FOFO, faith, optimism, flexibility, and openness. So having confidence in the future, do you have confidence in the future? Do you believe that there's the possibility for good things in the future?
Mm-hmm.
Yes and no. Depends on, well, I'll say bearing a zombie apocalypse or an asteroid slamming into us. I don't know.
We won't know. It'll be pretty quick.
It'd be pretty quick. Well, could ask the dinosaurs.
But just the idea of growing older with Gary, I mean, doesn't that put a smile on your face knowing, I mean, let's face it, I always joke and say there's not that many more New Year's Eves for Nani here, but the thing is that you do want to look down the road and you do want to imagine your grandkids or graduating or going off to school, but you want to imagine you're being with Gary and for me, whatever God gives me, I'm going to be happy. I just take that avenue and go, and whatever comes,
it's
what
health.
may.
I worry about health because
Sure.
I don't have good health sometimes, and I worry about Gary being alone because his personality. But the thing is, I don't know what the future is going to hold, and as I get older, I don't like that as well because
You want the control.
I want the control. When you're young, you're up to anything, but when you get older, you kind of get set in your ways, and when somebody wants to disrupt that I set in my ways, I get very stubborn and
yet, isn't that life?
that's normal.
Because life is unpredictable in many senses.
Oh, well, yeah, and
So-
you have to kind of go with the flow because you never know. Like I was telling Gary, I says, if I drop dead tomorrow, you can do this. And he says, well, if you drop dead tomorrow, Tatiana's on the plane back over, for my Russian bride. But,
But don't you find, though, that happiness as you get older takes it on a different complexion? It is not what you had when you were in your 20s, 30s. Okay, I'm going to push it 40s. I'm going to stop. But it's a different complexion. Little things make you happier now.
Yeah.
So, but think about what part does faith have in
A lot. For me, a lot.
And faith, I don't mean necessarily religion, but I
No.
just mean faith in terms of the universe, if you will, or fate, or the way
I'm actually
things.
a big believer in fate. I really do, because it's just so many things have happened to me over my life that I never did drugs. I don't drink, and
No wonder you're so angry.
Well, actually, I used to be a lot of fun before I got married, but
There you go. It's Gary's fault.
it is, according to my sister.
But now then you have to forgive him.
There you go.
It's kind of weird. I've never been a happy person, so I mean, I'm really seriously a pessimist. I look at the worst case scenario, and if it doesn't happen, then I'm happy. But I prepare myself for always worst case scenarios. Ever since I was a little kid.
So do you have high blood pressure?
Actually, no. Well, kind of. But I mean, yeah.
I would, and I say that somewhat in jest, but there is in fact, I was reading about it in this other book called What Happy People Know, and he was talking about it's hard to say, catastrophizing, where you look at things from the worst possible thing that can happen. And that actually, that holds you in that place of...
Well, it doesn't really hold me. What I do is I look at the worst case scenario, and then I prepare myself for it.
So you really consider yourself an unhappy person?
No, I don't consider
I
myself
wouldn't.
unhappy, but I'm not what I would call blithely happy.
You're not an optimist.
No. To me,
You're not in a state of bliss all the time.
No,
is it?
I'm not. I'm a half empty, not a.
Yeah. And I'm a half full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So do you think being an optimist means being a Pollyanna?
Tread lightly, Tootsie.
I know.
Got two
Let's put it
optimists
this way: I
around
have
you.
a relative that blithely goes through life with this smile on her face, and how she gets by without any serious thing really ever happening to her, which everything would fall on my head if
look,
I did it exactly the same way.
You're
It's
the
just-
type, the glass is half full. I'm the,
I'm
half
half
empty,
empty.
I'm half full. And do happy people, do they bug you? Because I'll get you in a half Nelson then.
Oh, if it's 7:00 in the morning and they're
Oh,
chirping,
I have to
yes,
tell you. I have to tell you a
they bug
story. I went on a bicycle trip with my girlfriend, and it was around Cape Cod, and we would take the bicycles and drive the trails, and then go to a bed and breakfast in the evening and stuff. It was really fun. Well, we'd be riding along in the bicycle. We'd start out early in the morning. Every time we'd pass somebody by, I'd go, "Good morning, good morning." Finally, she turned around after about 6 or 7 of those, and she says, "Well, you just stop with a good morning." And it bugged her.
I bet that hurt your feelings.
Well, it didn't, because I know her
But
well
what's
enough.
the matter with saying good morning
Because
to
she
people?
just is like, "Oh, you're always so sweet." But it was that sense
I had a woman that worked for me, and she was young and pretty, and my husband would take her out to lunch all the time as I sat at my desk. And,
Was her name Tatiana?
no, but I did steal her because she worked for him, and he was taking her out to lunch, so I stole her, and he still came and took her out to lunch. But she was young, 20-something, and she was so chipper in the morning. I've been here since 6:00 in the morning, and you're chirpy, and it's.
So do you think it's that optimism, though, is unreal, that there's an unrealness to it?
I think some people fake optimism.
But maybe you're afraid. Are you afraid of, because the half empty? Are you afraid that because I'm always half full, I'm always optimistic, the whole thing? Are you afraid of being disappointed? Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
it then.
Yeah, I'm afraid of being disappointed because I've been disappointed before, and so I decided, well, I'll never be disappointed again.
So
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
when I wanted that Betsy Wetsy doll and I got a knockoff, that's when everything changed. When I was
Well, let me
7
tell you
years
something.
old.
You get my age, and they will call you Betsy Betsy because
but see, that goes back to that forgiveness thing and letting go of that past, because and recognizing, being flexible about the future. Yeah, things aren't going to always go your way.
Yeah,
But you're smart. You're capable.
you are
you
one of the
are
most
able to
intelligent women I
adapt.
know. There is nothing you can sit down and you can talk about. You mentioned something. Oh, I forgot about. King Richard. She can tell you everything.
just don't ask me to spell or do math.
Well, no,
But,
I won't.
yeah.
But you have so much knowledge. You are so educated in your own way that you don't realize you have no limits when it comes to intelligence. You really don't, Sandi. You know so much, and it's really enlightening to listen to you talk, because you really teach.
It was interesting, just like for this coming on this evening, when I mentioned I was going to be doing using the book, Doug Smith's book, that you went out and researched it. Mm-hmm. You didn't just go, okay, sounds like an interesting book. You actually dove in and checked it out, which the majority of people wouldn't do that.
Well,
And I think that speaks
See, I
to
like
something.
the element of surprise. I like you to tell me about him, and then it gives me an insight. But I did read a little bit
It's
about
not
him.
it's
I
not
did.
and it's not I wasn't judging that.
Oh, no, no,
but
no,
I just
but-
think it is interesting because you did,
But that's her.
that's you. You
Yeah,
said, I
I-
want to find out.
it's like if I'm, I am, that's what, to the point of, it
No.
bugs some people because
It
I really
shouldn't bug
do
him.
go.
It's something that's really,
I would-
really
I
to
would
be
have been a-
admired.
I loved research, and I used to do sometimes, and I would be really super good as a researcher because
Yeah.
I can just sit there and go through all the mundane stuff, and I love connecting dots.
That's great.
And and that would be,
And
I'd
that's-
love, going, oh, and then I go over here, which is the same way I do my housework. I start here, and I go, oh, and I go over here. But,
But see,
And
even
somehow it's all connected, right?
Yeah.
It all gets cleaned. That's the bottom
yeah,
line.
but I kind
Who
of
cares?
go sidetrack a
But
lot.
Roberta, you're like that too, though. You
About
you
being
like you like to get into something, and then you're like a dog with a bone. You're not going to give up until you know exactly everything there is to know about that topic.
I don't think so. I love, if it's a topic that interests me, I will jump into it.
Mm-hmm.
But most topics, I float the surface. It's like I'll
Yeah.
learn a little bit, and
Well,
that's
I
one
do
of the
that.
things actually
I
that bothers
do that,
me
or
about
I listen,
myself.
and
that-
then something tweaks and then I go dive into it. It's.
Yeah.
But-
It's interesting because on the surface, the topic of happiness really seems so light and fluffy and, not
deep.
very,
It's
but
extremely
it's
deep.
very deep and it's very,
And it's really, what can you say? What makes you happy? I mean, a lot of people probably would come up with just just off the cuff type thing, or money, or this or that. And
but it's going to be very deliberate. And we are going to take a break because I'm cutting you off again.
Oh, dang.
Darn, right in the middle of
No.
another sentence. And we owe this time to our sponsors to be able to advertise and say thank you to TSPN for all the things that they do. We'll be right back on Insights in Leadership and Life.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.